Hello YouTube and welcome back to Brewing with Magic. So before we get into the deck that you see right behind us, I do want to remind everybody we are giving away a free Strixhaven set booster box on May 8th. It will be our first time going live ever on YouTube and we hope to see you there. If you want to find out how to qualify, so Will, how can they qualify to get this box?
Well, all they have to do is be a subscriber and leave a comment. You can do it on this video and some of the previous videos that we have already. And just look at the description below. It'll explain all the rules, but that's the quick summary of it.
Yeah, and also the link to our Discord is down there. We'd love to see you in there. So today we are going to be doing Stephen Crokeyz, as most of you know him's deck, which is a historic Blitz deck, and it is a crazy fast deck. Will's going to be able to explain to you more of the historic side. I'm just going to be talking about concepts of Magic because I'm not 100% familiar as you are in historic. So
yeah, no, I love historic. It's actually one of my favorite formats. I've been playing since it was beta, so got all the cards, so got to use them.
Well, as of us recording it, he is 12-1 with this deck and hit Mythic. When you're watching this, it'll be Tuesday. This happened Monday. So let's get into the deck real quick and see exactly what's going on. You do see behind me a best of 3 deck. We're only going to be posting the first 60. The other 15 are up to you if you want to play with those, but we're not going to focus on those today. So let's get into it. So here is the deck, Crokeyz Historic Blitz deck. And it is a super fun deck. You will see in the gameplay. I was playing it earlier, and it is super fast and a super good time. So I'm going to go over the cards real quick per row for what they are for. Then Will, if you'll help me out and explain to me exactly what we're doing. Like, I know what we're doing. So before I get into this, let me make something clear why I chose this deck. I chose this deck because it's a lot like mono red. I saw and it intrigued me. And what I mean by mono red is it's just turn them sideways. You don't have a whole lot of intuition as long as that you can just turn them sideways and win. Now there's a caveat to that. I don't want to by any means say that Crokeyz is not super intelligent or that someone like, I don't want to brag, me isn't going to run this different. This is the kind of deck or mono red that you pick up and you just play when you don't know the meta, because it will also do what it does. Now in the hands of a super skilled player, it's a lot better deck, and that's why Crokeyz got there, and that's why other people who know what they're doing will get there. So I just want to make sure you understand this is a great deck for beginners, but that doesn't mean that you're a noob or don't know what you're doing if you play it. So we have a creature package here. We have 4 Soulscar Mages, we have 4 Young Pyromancers, we have 4 Sprite Dragons, and we have 4 Stormwing Entities. Will, help me out here. What are we doing with this creature package?
So why I love this creature package, especially historic, having so many low mana spells, they do so much for these creatures. Soulscar Mage in particular, this one's great because of the prowess. So you're pumping him, you're getting him out on turn 1, you're moving along the board. So that's your turn 1 play. Your turn 2 play, you can either run into Young Pyromancer or the Sprite Dragon. But with Young Pyromancer, what you're trying to do here on turn 2, when you get this out, is you're basically mucking up the board. You're using your spells, you're creating 1/1s, you're going wide with this, and that's what you're really trying to do with Young Pyromancer. So you're protecting yourself, but in turn, giving yourself enough time where your other creatures, your flyover creatures, are the ones that are actually doing the most work.
Real quick.
And yep.
I don't know if it shows how old I am, but I actually played this card way a long time ago. I know that card. Too. Sorry, you were saying Sprite Dragon?
Yeah, no, 100%. So going into Sprite Dragon, I mean, most of you who have played Ikoria have seen this card. And when it first came out, it was one of the top Izzet cards everyone was using because it was very immediate. You had spells to keep it either pushing forward with +1/+1 counters, or you were defending it with counter spells. So you were pretty much outvaluing your opponent. That's that card, and what leads you into Stormwing Entity.
A 5-drop. Why is this 5-drop in this deck?
And this is what led into this card, because with this card specifically, whenever you play, we'll say a 1 CMC spell, then you drop and reduce the price of this by 1 blue, 2 colorless. So now it's only 2, 1 blue, 1 colorless.
Yeah.
So it comes out super fast, but then you get a scry and it has prowess. So in standard, Stormwing Entity and Sprite Dragon always met hand in hand in those Izzet decks. But in historic, wow, you just have so much more reach with the cards that we have available.
Yeah, and if you end up casting this card for 5 mana, you probably did something extremely wrong and or are losing the game. I just want to make that clear. This is a 2-drop creature in this deck, usually on turn 3 or later. But turn 3, this is almost a just slam, you know? So, and one thing I want to point out, which you're going to notice with this deck, and I know we haven't gotten into the card yet, but there's a very important card we're going to talk about in just a moment called Brainstorm. And before we get much further, I just want to point out. Okay, let's just let Will. I'm just gonna talk about this card real quick because I don't want to pass up Stormwing Entity, and there's an important interaction here we need to see. So, for anybody who's newer to Historic, Brainstorm is 1 blue. It's an instant. Draw 3 cards, then put 2 cards from your hand on top of your library in any order. The reason I want to bring that up is because say you say, I don't know, Brainstorm on turn 3, and you have been flooded. Your hand is full of land. You draw 3 cards, you put 2 lands back, and you still have a land in your hand, and you're good. Now, for 2 mana left, we're going to play Stormwing Entity, and we're going to scry those to the bottom. Get them out of here. Get them out of here. Then the next turn, guess what? We're going to crack our Fabled Passage, and we're going to make sure those lands are back in the deck in case we need them late game. So, I mean, you don't even have to do that. Any cards you want to do these interactions, there's a lot of things going on with this deck that you might not think of when you see something like Scry 2. Cool, I'm setting up my next turn. It's way deeper than that. So, okay. Now we have our 1-drop spell section, which is 4 copies of that Brainstorm I was just talking about, 4 Ops, 3 Infuriates, 3 Reckless Rages, 4 Shocks, and then our bigger spells before, because Will's going to talk about all this, what we're doing with all this, but it's all kind of the same thing. These just cost more. We have 1 copy of Glimpse of Freedom, Rogues, and such, and we have 4 Expressive Iteration, which is an amazing card in this deck, and 1 copy of One Mind. So why do we have all these spells? It's just, what are we doing?
I mean, for the most part, especially in this deck specifically, having low CMC spells, cantrips to keep drawing, pumping your creatures, creating 1/1s, they are all interactive. This is literally a spell slinger deck, pumping your creatures and making them go over the top and just destroy your opponents. So, you know, starting with Brainstorm, you know, it's a lot of hand movement. You're able to get the cards you need, put the other 2 back, just like you said. Basically, you're kind of creating the best hand you possibly can. And I love the artwork for this, by the way. Like, the artworks that have just come out are just beautiful.
Yes.
So it's really cool addition, especially in Historic. Seeing all these new cards, artwork is really awesome.
And I'm glad they introduced Brainstorm, because we're never going to get Ancestral Recall. This is about as close as we're going to get. Look it up, you young kids. It's an amazing card.
Yes. and then, of course, the traditional Opt. I mean, everyone's played this card. It's an easy scry draw card, but again, drawing into what you need, scrying away what you don't need, pumping your creatures at the same time. It's really beneficial with this deck. Infuriate, man, this card is just fun, because again, on the Sprite Dragon or the Stormwing Entity, this is just a gonzo card. It just blows off, makes these creatures so much better.
Or turn 2, Sprite Dragon. Turn 3, you infuriate it into a Stormwing Entity cast. Like, it's just a lot of power really fast.
Yeah. And then Reckless Rage. Now, Reckless Rage is a really cool card because, again, it deals 4 damage to any target you don't control, but then 2 damage to a target you do control. So it goes really well with the Soulscar Mage because it's a 1-2 punch. Because you're able to pump your Soulscar Mage with prowess, so it becomes a 2/3. You deal 4 damage to the biggest creature that's in front of you, and then it hits you for 2, which only puts you back down to 1. So basically, if there's no creature in front of you, you're now swinging in. And it is pretty good.
Other than the Young Pyromancer, this card, you can throw this on anything being Soulscar, because it on the stack will prowess. Sprite Dragon, as long as it has at least 1 other token on it at that point, 1 other +1/+1 counter. And then, of course, Stormwing Entity, it's only going to drop to a 2, because it's going to go 4, 2, and boom. So just don't target your Young Pyromancer, and if you have nothing on the board, swing away.
So another cool one too, again, with the Young Pyromancer, if you're using the Reckless Rage, and this may be a turn 3 play, you want to move something out of the way of you, you can play Reckless Rage. Young Pyromancer will trigger, create an elemental, you target your elemental, you kill it, you do 4 damage to something else, keeping your Young Pyromancer. So it's also another little quick tech just in case.
Super fun.
And then finally you got Shock. I mean, you know, this is just old reliable, 1 for 2, so definitely helpful.
Much with Brainstorm to Ancestral Recall is Shock to Lightning Bolt. They're not going to give it to us for 1. So just enjoy what they're giving us.
Right.
So.
And then you have Glimpse of Freedom. And this card, again, is just a reusable card.
Graveyard
so you're going to
hate.
escape it back. You're just going to keep doing it. And it's just going to keep you in the game. You're going to keep drawing, that kind of fun stuff.
Mainly,
and then,
but it's mainly in there for also, this could have been another of one of mine. This is for Graveyard Hate. I want to make sure people know that too. That's the main tech for that.
So next is Expressive Iteration.
So I don't know if you actually played with this card a whole lot. I'm sorry to interrupt you there, but before you explained it, I just want to make sure this card is super fun, and it's what starts your turn. So this looks like it's a turn 2 card for you, but in most cases this is a turn 3, but probably your turn 4 and 5, and by then the game had better be over card. And this is the way I like to play this card. I put the card into my hand that I want to play, I ditch the card into my deck that I don't care about, and then I try to put the land for the turn that I draw into exile, because then it's going to let me play that land. And so you've got a really neat setup where, say you have 4 land in play, you're trying to end the turn, and you want to find what's going on. Okay? You're going to cast this card. You're probably firing up a Sprite Dragon token, a Stormwind Entity, or a Soul Scar Mage prowess, something like that. So you started that already, because obviously you want to do this before you attack. Now you're going to grab the card that you want, say an Infuriate. I'm just picking one. It could be Shot. It doesn't matter. Brainstorm. Then you ditch the card you don't. Maybe you drew 2 lands. So you ditch the land you don't want for the turn. Put the other one in exile. Now you play the land. And now you just play your normal game plan. This card does a lot more than you think. So
yeah, it's a really good addition. They did a great job at adding this card, especially Crokey putting it into this deck. I think it was a really smart choice.
Solid.
Yeah. And then, of course, Of One Mind. Easy card. Everyone knows it. Basically, just drawing those cards. Just trying to get more card draw if you can. The cool part is, with Young Pyromancer on the board and a Sprite Dragon, you're good to go for 1. So it makes it that much easier. So
and then lastly, we have our land package, and this is one of the things I'm loving about Historic. Yeah, we got a couple islands, we got a couple mountains, but we got 4 pathways, 4 of the what are these, canals? I don't know what you call this land. I'm newer to it. We have 4 shocklands, steam vents. We got some fabled passages. It's amazing. You almost don't need basics at all anymore, and I love it. So I don't know. Would you like to see how I did with the deck, Will?
Yeah, let's watch that gameplay.
Okay.
And I haven't seen any of the gameplay, so this will be fun.
Well, before we do that, I just want to remind everybody to like this video, smash that subscribe button, completely free, really helps out the channel. It actually helps you out because you can win a Strixhaven set booster box. Check down in the description what I'm talking about if you would like to win it on May 8th live. So I definitely think you should check it out. Share this video with someone that you think might like it. We're giving away a bonus prize if we hit a certain amount of subscribers by that date. So without further ado, what do you think, Will? Should we get into it?
Let's get in.
Okay, let's go. Okay, so first up, I don't know exactly what we're playing at this point, but this is the hand I was presented. What do you think about this? Keep, to get rid of, what would you do?
No, this is pretty strong. You got 4 lands in your hand. You know, you have your Opt, you have your Shock, so that definitely means that you can play Storm Entity pretty quickly. So, and then Opt on turn 1, so you can draw into what you might need. So this looks pretty good.
Yeah, I would have liked to have a little bit less lands, but I felt like it was too greedy to not keep this hand. So yeah. I did keep it, as you see. And so I don't really know the meta that much. But I'm thinking, I don't know, do you think it was the right play to leave that untapped to go ahead and opt into a shocked either or? Up to me, my decision, or?
Yeah, I mean, I think the canal, right? Doesn't it come in if you have 2 or less lands?
Oh, see, that's what I should have done. See,
and then you would have took no damage.
Okay, so it looks like, so they passed turn here, and I'm gonna just dig a little bit, just to see if I can't find a turn 2 play. Yeah. Because Stormwing Entity isn't a turn 2 play, so. Yeah. That's what I'm doing here. Hey!
Oh, there you go.
Hey,
wow. Right off the top. Can't
right there. Hey, look! I figured out what you said, Will. So I decided to go ahead and use this canal the way it's intended to be used. I still would have taken the 2 this turn.
Maybe. I mean, you could have dropped the island.
Yeah, and then, I guess.
Gone that route.
But in my opinion, in a deck like this, just like mono red, I'm gonna use my life like it's a resource. I don't care.
Yeah, 100%.
If you kill me by life before I kill you, I didn't deserve to win that game.
Yeah,
so,
no, 100%.
So we're just gonna get the Young Pyromancer down for some value. So I could have thrown the Sprite Dragon, but I feel like there's much more value getting the young Pyromancer on the board. So my opponent.
That's a good call.
So now I know that they're elves. Okay. So are we in a lot of trouble here? Because in my opinion, from what I know about elves, it was time for me to start going as fast as I could while disrupting anything they could do to produce mana.
Yeah, Elves is a pop-off deck. So you basically, right now with the Elvish Clan Caller, what they're going to do next is probably drop another one of their elves that creates an elf or an elf that creates mana. So with that said, they're going to try to outvalue you really fast.
Okay.
And by doing that, they're going to flood the board sideways. Once they do that, then it gets too out of control unless you have a board wipe. So having to go either A, early removal, or drop fast creatures is the only way to go.
Nice. Okay. So I kind of knew that just a little bit, just because I know how elves is not a new archetype. So
No.
I decided I'm going to slam the steam vents in, take some damage, and I'm going to just keep their board clear.
There you go.
Yep. I was going to say, I'm pretty sure I keep their board clear, and then I go, once again, I could bring out the Sprite Dragon, but I'm going for the big prowess drop here.
Yeah. Oof, that's so good. Yeah, that is actually pretty solid. The Storm Entity on that turn is a better play in my opinion, just because the next turn you're setting yourself up to go Sprite Dragon into the Stormwing into whatever you're trying to do with that brainstorm that you're now looking at.
Yeah, so I definitely decided I didn't need a second Stormwing at this point, because I didn't want anything else that was going to be sick when it came out. I wanted to start doing work now. So I went ahead and passed on that. Kept the brainstorm up because, like you said, it's a lot of power, and then just swung in for 2.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the opponent's going to do here, but I know it has to do with elves.
Yeah, they're already in a tough position. They either have to go wide right now with a couple different drops to try to like get into that position. But it looks like he's went a total different way. I mean, don't be wrong. He's probably setting himself up so he can pump this out in about 2 turns. But
yeah,
I'm not sure if he's going to have 2 turns at this rate,
right?
Just looking at your hand.
And I'm just going to go all in here. I'm just going as fast as I can. Now it's time to bring out the Sprite Dragon.
Yep.
So I was gonna say I do believe. Okay, I was gonna say I do believe I play the brainstorm. I decide the Soul Scar Mage is just not gonna be for this turn. I'm gonna save it for removal later and see what else I can put out this turn.
Now that's strong. You being able to get 2 Infuriates.
Yeah.
That is rough for this opponent.
And I just decided it was time to just try to end this game. So
100%. And the cool part is, if they just decide to block your Pyromancer, I'm not even sure if that's even necessary at this moment, due to the fact in the air with the Infuriates, you're so heavy that it looks like you can just smash right through them. I mean, green is not known for having a lot of reach right off the bat. I mean, in this case, in the case of elves, they usually don't have a ton of reach. They do have reach in the deck, but just hitting them for that much, I mean, that's just oof.
Well, talk us out while we watch the end of this, because pretty much they're gonna just dump their hand here in desperation, and we have the game locked up in the air. So what are we watching out for elves when we play them with any deck in the format? What's our gameplay?
I mean, the biggest thing for this is we're really just trying to keep them off from being able to drop multiple elves, especially mana elves, that will help them go through their deck faster, or any kind of card draw. The other one is Collective Company. That's what they're really known for. So if they play Collective Company, then usually they can get into more elves pretty quickly, and usually bigger elves to kind of pump their stuff. That's usually the only out, especially if they have 3 green up. That's typically the play on average, but it depends. But that's usually what you see on average when you're playing elves.
Well, I played this deck a little bit today, and I do believe spoilers may have happened, but it's going to be the end of this deck either way.
Yeah, this looks already over.
As I say, keep in mind, Will hasn't seen any of this gameplay at this point, and our opponent is.
There it is.
I was gonna say, I knew it was coming. I didn't want to give away too much because I remember the game, but there's exactly what you called out. I kind of knew that they were gonna have to do a whole lot to get, because I have 3 damage in my hand, so even if a 1/1 gets through, I know I win.
Yeah.
So I don't know a lot about this meta, but I knew that. So, and I don't even attack with any of this because, once again, I don't even want to read these cards, see if they have lifelink. I just knew that they didn't have reach, and so boom, bang, boom, I got them.
That's pretty solid. That's a mean game, because you kept them off the marker at the beginning, and then you just hit them with way too fast that they can handle it.
Okay, so let's get into game 2 here, and so looking at this hand, I already know that I kept this. What's your opinion on this?
Yeah, no, this is totally a keep. I mean, looking at this hand, you have your 2 lands, you have your Spire Pluff Canal that you can do on turn 1, or Steam Vents take the damage, whatever. You have Brainstorm lets you shift through and figure out what you need. Stormwing Entity that kind of like gets you probably a turn 3 Stormwing. But then the cool part is you have the 2 Skullscar Mages and you have Reckless Rage. So you have a removal, plus you have that combo piece that we were talking about earlier. So this is actually a really good start.
Yeah, so in my head, I was thinking I'm fast against control, I'm decent against other rush decks, I've got removal, so I was like, yeah, seems like a good reason to keep. You'll always see me drop and then look, even though it says their commander, I'm just looking for information.
Okay, this is funny because it looks like you're playing Elves again.
Yeah, right? So I don't know what's going on here because I'm new to the format, but yeah, I thought Elves, and I'm like, hey, a 1-2 with prowess, that beats a 1-1 Llanowar Elf, right?
Yeah, pretty solid.
Right.
Okay, now you're playing GRUUL. Got it. Okay, so
I know this card.
Tree.
Once again, I'm old enough to understand I'm in trouble. And I see the Burning Room tree. So at this point,
oh, this is
yeah,
that is interesting.
And things just got real.
Yeah, because he definitely wanted to kind of keep you off from doing anything, so he created a 4/4, thinking, "Hey, I'm gonna shut you down."
Yep.
And then get into another play the next turn. What he doesn't know is you're holding up your answer. This is pretty solid.
So I do probably what you think. So first I decide to throw another Skullscar Mage for a blocker, and then I'm like, hey, let me kill you. Now, so watching your own gameplay, watching your own gameplay while playing new decks, playing multiple games I mean, I probably play 40 games plus a day. Yeah, I should have targeted my other soul. I mean, I put the other one out there. What was I doing? Because then I could have attacked. They couldn't block. I get it. Now, I still make the decision at this point that it was a mistake that I did that, but it's better for me to attack because if they lose their Burning Tree, I'm in a better position.
100%.
In my opinion. Now, that was a bad play. But it was, I'm glad, so the main takeaway from that is, I messed up, but I made a decision. It was still better to go in.
Yeah. Honestly, I think you being the aggro player in this case, I think it was necessary that you go in. But you recognizing that you should have hit the person that was, summoning sickened, I think that was a smarter thing.
So that hurt. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. That hurt. Right here, I've decided I'm playing the Stormwing Entity. So I've decided I'm gonna snap that Brainstorm out. Now I'm putting 2 on top. Now that's a lot of land. Now, this is why I love Stormwing Entity, and this is why this iteration, like this interaction is amazing. I want one of those. I don't want 2 of them. Bye.
Yep.
See you later. I got them out of my hand. I had a flooded hand. Put them on top. Protected one. However you want to look at it. And now our opponent has done what we knew they were going to do, and we're back to our turn. I mean, a really clean set of events. So
and this is pretty solid right here. Again, into a Reckless Rage. You're going to take 2 right here, but you're removing his biggest threat. You're leaving him with 1/1, but you're also pumping your creature right now, and you can still Brainstorm to pump it again. So it's pretty solid.
And I do believe I actually do more here because there's so much you can do in this deck. I want to see what, and I mean, just look at all this. I mean, that is really good. And another Stormwing Entity. I'm going to be honest. At this point, I can't remember 100% what I did.
Yeah, I would keep the Stormwing because you can now play it right then and there.
So the reason I put the draw spell second down is because I have a draw spell in my hand.
Yeah.
So I knew that I could get to it if need be, and then, like you said, I decided to go much more powerful and in the air because I know that GRUUL, in my experience, GRUUL Rush in the past has a lot of creatures on the ground for the most part.
Yeah.
And they'll have a Haymaker in the air, so I need to be in the air as fast as I can.
Yeah. See, and he's gonna try to do damage to you this next turn, but I mean, look at that hand. I mean, right off the bat, you have a 3/3, a 3/3 with prowess. You have your Sprite-Wing Dragon you're gonna play right now, and then you can Brainstorm into. This is ridiculous. This
was a huge turn. They can't stop any of this damage, and then
they can't. Yeah.
I just want. Oh, it's bad.
And into an Infuriate. Oh my goodness.
So I mean, look at this. This is just.
I think that's
disgusting.
Game right there, right? That's what it looks like to me. That looks like game.
I'll never tell.
How do you? Yeah, that's just
it
dead.
Is. It
16,
is. Yeah. So I mean, just a lot of damage. So I mean, just real quick, if say we were to back it up real quick, you could, when I Brainstorm here, you could go ahead and like take this other draw spell and set up another turn, but make sure you're just counting out the math. I knew it was game. I was but just make sure you're looking at everything. I'm playing a little fast because I'm really familiar with rush decks, I like playing fast. Now, when you play fast with a control deck, you're going to make a lot more mistakes, and I made some here. But, you know, just make sure you've got the game won. We did. What a fun deck. I love it.
Yeah. I always live by that motto, right? It's like math is for blockers.
Math is for blockers.
Yeah, so let them deal with it, and you
Right?
just kind of go in with what you got.
Right?
So that was solid. That was a good win.
So, okay. Okay, so here is our final deck of the night. Here's our opening hand. I'm just checking out our cards. Our opponent has nothing. I mean, 2 lands and anything in this deck is usually a keeper, but I mean, 2 Soulscar Mages, a Sprite Dragon, a turn 1, a turn 2, and the stuff.
Yeah. Honestly, the reason I'm looking at this hand, not just the 2 lands, but having the Soulscar Mage as a human, having a Sprite Dragon, which is not a human,
Right?
of wine now becomes 1.
Yep.
So just if they're able to stay on the board, you're already drawing
2.
into more cards.
Right?
Yeah, so you're pretty solid.
I kept
Yeah.
it. Spoilers. So, let's see. We're going to obviously start off with this a Soul Scar Mage. Tongue Twister. Let's see what our opponent's up to. What you got, Deadshot? I don't even know what that... So in my head...
Right off the bat, they're
right?
going to look at your hand. Well, there goes your of 1 mind. Maybe? I don't know. That's what I would take.
Spoilers.
Wow. Okay. I mean, I guess it's going to make sense. It makes it more expensive. So...
Well, so I decide... I don't know what... Okay, so I don't know what we're playing at this point, but I do know there's a card called Fatal Push and stuff like that.
Yep.
So in my opinion, I need a second creature on the board because I don't think there's any board wipes at turn 2 in Historic. But I definitely know I need to start getting damage in. So I go ahead and I that's why I slammed that down. Should I have?
No. I would have done the same because, again, you're a rush deck. Your job is to get out as fast as you can and do it. And the interesting part is he knows what you have, so he's going to play that to bait your shock.
That was a big draw.
Yeah,
that was
getting
a big
that third
draw.
land was huge. Yeah.
So what should I be doing here?
I mean, in this case, you can either do removal or you can draw. Those are probably the only 2.
Well, I want through, so I decide to go ahead and do the removal because I want to get through.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about Infuriating, but I want to make sure that I save that for another bit of removal. I don't know what I'm drawing next turn, and I want to make sure that I can kill anything they throw down on the next turn. And I don't want to get blown out with just 2 1/2s.
Yeah.
So...
I mean, the crazy part here is he missed a land drop.
That was very good, and they didn't do anything.
Huge. Yeah.
So now, obviously, my game plan has changed. I have a Stormwing entity that I need into play.
Yep.
So that just gets slammed right now, and I swing in.
Yeah, and now he's way low.
Yeah, way
So now,
behind.
not only does he have to deal with your Skullscar Mages, and you have another Infuriate. Wow, this is ridiculous. So you can draw 2 cards and Infuriate. I think this game's over at this moment.
Exactly. I just went human, non-human. We have another Infuriate. Look, they're gonna.
Okay, so
I know what
so you
this
can throw
does.
a vampire. Yeah, so you can throw a vampire directly onto the battlefield, which is good. So.
But I'm in the air. They're at 6.
Does that matter?
That's game over right there. Now,
right there.
I didn't need to do all this, but being new to the format, I just wanted to see what I could do. I'm not gonna lie. So I was just curious how big I could get this on 1 turn, and I'm pretty sure I saved the I was gonna infuriate. Yeah, you can see I wanted to infuriate. So I know I kind of knew what I was getting into once I saw the vampire kind of thing happen there because of the fact that I even though I'm newer to the format, I follow Twitter. But I, once again, just took advantage of the air and these really cheap cards and just...
it's kind of interesting to see a vampire deck or mono black in this case not have early removal and you kind of getting in and making that happen. So, I mean, that's gratuitous. But at the end of the day, even if he was to remove 1 or 2 of those creatures, the amount of speed you were going at, being able to drop those 2 and then the third pretty quickly. I mean, there's just 2. I mean, even if he got a removal, he only had 3 land, so he had to make a choice. He's only removing 1 of those things. Well, so I'm
not gonna lie, the deck is extremely fun. So fun. So okay, ladies and gentlemen, that's gonna do it for the Crokeyz Historic Blitz deck, and it is a blast. I see exactly why he got into Mythic so early with this deck. Of course, was playing a best of 3 version, and he is Crokeyz, pretty amazing player. So that has a lot to do with it. The deck did not just auto bring him in, but I definitely suggest you go check out his channel. He is probably one of the more entertaining people I've ever watched in the game, and I don't mean like, ooh, I'm an entertainer. I mean, he just is himself, and he's super entertaining, and I mean, and that voice. So go and check out Crokeyz. But we're obviously not going to make any changes on this. I just wanted you to see it one more time. And Will, what are your closing remarks about this deck?
One thing I was going to say to a lot of the viewers out there, if you're not into Historic or you haven't played Historic, the cool part about this is the deck, for the most part, is relatively cheap. There's only select things other than the lands. So if you don't have the lands, that's where all of basically your wild cards are going to go into, just so you know. But if you've been playing Standard for the most part, a majority of these cards you probably already have. So that's the cool part about it. So you're only kind of like investing into things you're probably going to be using anyways. So if you invest into this deck to play it and try to like kind of push through the ladder through Historic, it's not a wasted investment. And the reason I say that is because the lands specifically, you're going to use them in other decks. So that's the cool part about it. It's a pretty good investment.
Quick translation: if you want to get into Historic and you haven't yet, try this deck out. I highly suggest it. That's what he was saying. And It is black. I mean, you like the deck. I like the deck. I've never seen anybody that doesn't like the deck. So if you like this deck, please hit that thumbs up button. Subscribe to the channel. It's completely free, and it will make you eligible to win the Strixhaven set booster box we're giving away on May 8th. Check the description down below on exactly how to get an entry into that. Check out our Discord link. And as always, until next time, Will,
have a blast in the arena.
There we go.